All right. Good evening, everybody. Pet Man Matt Morrow here, CFI After Dark. I've been playing it by year. If we were gonna do a show tonight, um, I know you hadn't seen us for a little while. We did a show last Thursday, and then we didn't do CFI After Dark last week, and then we didn't do the show this week. But now we're doing CFI After Dark. Um, real briefly, I've been trying to get over a virus for those that didn't watch the show last week, and it's been a heck of a fight, man. But I'm finally starting to feel like myself a little bit, um, and felt like we needed to get on here tonight and talk about some pretty good football here in the second round of playoffs. So as this gets, shared out there a little bit, we please leave your scores and your comments. I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna go through the brackets. And then of course I'll come back to any comments and scores that I haven't got to yet at that time. But I'm gonna put the brackets on the screen. I'm gonna start with the 4A West. And then we'll work our way down through all of the action that happened. And we'll focus in on 4A, 3A West primarily. If we have time, we'll look at 2A or if somebody throws a comment up. We'll talk about that. But tonight, Shaquan was at Weddington in Chambers. And this was a hard fought game. Weddington was able to pull that game out 14-10. They did take a 14-0 lead in that game, and then Chambers was able to get a field goal and then a touchdown to cut it to 4. And then they had a chance to kind of take the lead, but they had the ball late in the fourth quarter, and then they went out on downs. So just kind of ran out of time, and then Weddington was able to put the game away. This is a bit of a revenge victory. A few years ago, Chambers faced Weddington in the playoffs. I remember me and producer were there, and they took it to them. They took it to them pretty good over there at their home field, where they don't lose very often. So I know Weddington was fired up to get another chance at Chambers a few years later, albeit, and get a little bit of retribution for that previous playoff victory a few years ago. Brings an end to Chambers season. Losing in the second round is not, their goal, obviously. But, you can get a tough matchup against the number one seed, who's a pretty good football team, and you take them to the wire and, have a shot in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's all you can really ask for. So, a lot of talent at Chambers is, graduating out of that program. A lot of guys we've talked about for a long time. And then Weddington's moving on. I'm stopping because I see somebody coming in. Give me 1 second, big eye. And then Weddington's going to move on and play Charlotte Catholic, who has defeated TC Roberson on the road 24-21. And, the interesting thing with Catholic is, a lot of people just kind of forgot about them. And they've gone on the road twice now. They beat the number 9 seed Myers Park last week in pretty impressive fashion. And then beating the number 8 seed TC Roberson up in the mountains. That's the Asheville area, if you're not familiar. And that game was not that close. TC Roberson scored with like 8 seconds left in the game to make that score look closer than what it was. But Catholic had a pretty good 10 to 15-point lead most of that game. So that's going to set up a really interesting matchup here. But we'll pause right now because I want to bring on Big Eye, Shelby, because he is going to talk about his Patriots getting a big win over East Forsyth. And I know some people that are watching this would want to hear from him. So I'll bring him on and let's hear from him.
Yeah. What's up, Pat?
What's up, man?
Hey, man, I'm a little hoarse from the game, but
Well, while you got some voice left, tell everybody how it went down.
We had a great team win tonight over East Forsyth. I know we had two turnovers on defense. One we took back for a defensive touchdown. I believe our running back, Jaden Jones, may have had two touchdowns. Then I think we threw for a touchdown. So it was overall great team win, hard fought game. Shouts out to East Forsyth in that program. They had a heck of a year, man. But our team, we've been battle tested all year and every year, and we've been finding a way these last couple of weeks to string away wins. So we couldn't be more happy than the position that we are in right now as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of us in Charlotte are proud. The whole city comes together when we're going outside of the city, especially in the 336, where they always feel like they have some type of dominance over us
Yeah,
for
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reason.
And the 336, I always feel that way. But also, speaking of 336, shout out to our fans for being able to travel down on this Veterans Day Eve, or however they want to say it. It's Veterans Day today and tomorrow, holiday weekend. Shout out to our fans, our lovers and supporters that got on the road and drove down, and the ones that watched from home.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, so after the Butler loss, what's been kind of the galvanizing thing to bring you guys together on this playoff run?
We just been preaching 48 minutes. That's all we got left. For guys that this your last go. Every game we play, it might be your last go around with this team, with these guys you're playing with. So we just preaching, give it your all 48 minutes, and we forcing our seniors to put them in position to lead each and every day. And so the first 2 weeks, man, we've been taking care of business. Um, we're gonna sit on this one for not 24 hours, but a couple hours and get ready and focus on the target.
Yeah. Watauga beating Mallard Creek. People watching may not know that, but they beat Mallard Creek 20-14 tonight. Um, what was I going to ask you? Um, oh yeah, the young man that had the fumble return. You want to shout him out?
Oh yeah, shout out to Chris Clark. I think it ain't been confirmed yet. It's either 80 or 90 yard fumble recovery tonight for a
Mm.
touchdown. He had one last week also against Lake Norman that was about 40 yards. That's kind of sparked us and get us going. So yeah, he done put together 2 weeks, and he got two touchdowns. So shout out to Chris.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. Let me see. We got Kim says you need a cough drop, so there you
Hey,
go.
hey, hey Kim, I gotta stop by the store on the way home and get some.
But no, that's the best time to be hoarse after a big win, man. So I know you
It
guys
was
on the
good. It was
bus
good
coming back.
atmosphere.
Yeah, travel
Yeah,
safe,
better
man,
take
and
me a nap.
yeah,
Better take me a
do
nap, man.
do that. Congratulations, man, once again.
Appreciate you, Pep.
Absolutely. So that's Big Eye Shelby right there, joining us. Also, even though I was not at a game, the producer still does his job, even though I'm not doing mine and taking PTO. And I'll bring him on to talk about where he was at
I like the sound of that, man. Still does his job.
tonight.
That sounds great. But
It
I
has felt weird not being at games the last 2 weeks. It is not this is not normal for me. I am very upset,
hey
and
man,
I am working to come back next week.
I'm happy for that.
I'm questionable right now though.
Even even
Questionable.
even Cal Ripken Street came to an end at some point, man. It's okay, man. It's okay, man. You'll come you'll bounce back, man. It's okay.
Oh man. So
But
where were you tonight?
so I went to Butler and checked out their game against West Forsyth. West Forsyth is a good team, as we all know. We saw them in the preseason at the preseason jamboree. So I had like a preview, and they had a good season. They had a lot of good, what I call good wins, quality wins against good teams during the year. So I knew they were a good team coming in. Um, but for 3.75 quarters, Butler just showed why they're a championship contender. Pretty much dominated after about the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. It was just a dominant performance. Um, I think Butler's offense went 3-and-out to start the game, um, and then Butler held West Forsyth to a stop, and then it was pretty much Butler the rest of the way there. West Forsyth actually scored first to make it 7-0, and they had a lot of momentum and a lot of energy towards the end, and then Butler got a couple scores. So towards the end of the first half, um, West Forsyth I think was down 13-7, but they had the ball back. But then they turned the ball over twice with like a minute to left. So with a minute to go in the half, it was 13-7, Butler up. West Forsyth threw an interception on their own side of the field. Butler scored. Then on the kickoff, they fumbled. Butler scored again. So they literally gave up 14 points in less than a minute. And I think that took a lot of energy, took the life out of them, and they never really recovered after that. To go from basically being down one touchdown to being down 3 touchdowns going into the half. With about 7 minutes left, it was 47-7. So Butler at that point had ripped off 47 unanswered points, and Butler's a contender. That just is what it is. There's no analysis needed. Butler is a legitimate championship contender, and they look like it from start to finish. After the first few minutes of the game. West Forsyth, though, very optimistic for the future in them. They have a lot of young guys in key positions. Like I said, they beat some good teams this year. So the future does look bright. They are a good team. They just ran into a buzzsaw tonight. It happens. That's all it really is. Butler's just in their moment right now. And they just happen. That's just how the stars align for them. But they just happen to run into a great team. But I mean, Butler's the real deal, and they proved it tonight. Maybe somebody can update me. It was 40. I took off when it was 47-7. Felt like I had seen all I needed to see. Maybe someone can chime in on what the final was. But Butler was up 40 when I left, and just completely dominating.
Yeah, the final was 47-7. So
okay,
a good time to leave.
47 unanswered points. So I can't say they put anyone on notice because we already knew. So they're in the conversation for sure.
Absolutely, man. Jaden Williams, running back number 12, had another big game.
Definitely multiple touchdowns. Butler was pretty much at one point just kind of scoring at will, clicking on all cylinders. I want to say Jaden Williams had 3 scores, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's a weapon. He's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield too. I've seen that in the multiple games. I think it's my 3rd Butler game this season. So versatile in that way. He doesn't just have to. You can kind of line him up anywhere. You can send him out on routes out of the backfield. So he's good with catching the ball too. So yeah, just dominant championship contender level performance on both sides of the ball from them. They're clicking on all cylinders. They're not one of those teams where one side of the ball carries them and the other one kind of just, does the best they can. No, they get contributions on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Balanced team.
Absolutely, man. You want to stick around or you want to run?
I'm just popping in for a minute, man. I'll be in the background. I'll be listening in, but everyone have a good night. We got a couple more weeks of this, so I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, producer.
No problem.
That's producer Brandon checking in. He was at Butler and West Forsyth tonight, and Butler with the big win, 47-7. So we're gonna go back to the bracket. We went through the top half of Weddington and Charlotte Catholic are going to play next week. Huff defeated Porter Ridge big tonight, impressive fashion, 45-12. And then Grimsley, also impressive, big over Sun Valley, 56-24, setting up a rematch from last season of that great Huff and Grimsley game that went into I think multiple overtimes, and there was a lot of controversy and things of that nature. So I know Huff is excited to get this rematch, and it'll be up at Grimsley, and that'll definitely be one of the marquee games in the state playoffs next week. And we'll definitely talk about it on our show next Wednesday night. But both of these teams are playing really well right now. For Huff to defeat a good Porter Ridge team that way was impressive. And then Grimsley, of course, offensively is really strong with all their weapons and the ways they can attack you, taking down a good Sun Valley team. All right, so let's go to a couple comments here. Kim, I don't know how you were first. I didn't even promote this. I literally just decided like 30 minutes before the show started I was going to do it. So I applaud your dedication. Nikisha, thank you for watching as always. Armani, our Clover guy, I thought about you when I saw the score, man. Yeah, Gaffney's tough, but it's a great season, especially this is year one for Coach Woolbright. And this is a great sign for the future. So it's an excellent hire, and just you're gonna build off of it and continue to do a great job, man. So shout out to the Clover Blue Eagles for doing a great job all season long. Jonathan Mitchell says Huff versus Grimsley next week might be the game of the year. Yeah, it might be. I trust me, I know people at Huff that are very excited about this rematch. They're going to be ready. They're going to be more than ready. It's going to be a nice heavyweight fight in the third round, and that's what it should be. That's what the third round playoffs should be, man. Heavyweight fights, and we got a couple more. So let's go to the bottom half of the 4A West bracket. Mount Tabor going into Mooresville and knocking off the Blue Devils 19-14. I should have known something was wrong because I didn't get any updates. I was getting updates from everybody, and I got no updates from our Mooresville contingent. And when I looked back and saw the progress of the game where Mount Tabor jumped out to the lead, those guys get nervous when they're behind. So, but anyway, congratulations to Mount Tabor. And in Mooresville, another really good season, but the disappointment in the early rounds of the playoffs continues, and hopefully they can continue to build and learn from this, but it's got to be disappointing when you have, a really good regular season. You have a lot of upperclassmen, and you're not able to get it done on your home field, especially with a lot of fans in a great environment. But that's what high school football is all about, man. You take those things, you take that pain, and you learn from it, not only on the field, but in life. And a lot of those young men will be stronger going through that experience for sure. So Mount Tabor will take on Butler. We just talked to producer who was at Butler, who defeated West Forsyth big tonight, 47-7. Butler and Mount Tabor, this game will be at Butler in the third round next week. The thing about this one is Mount Tabor is built more like a typical Charlotte team with the type of athleticism and speed that they have. So it's not going to be a shock to Butler to see a team like this. They've probably seen more teams kind of built like Mount Tabor than teams that they haven't seen, in that kind of mold. So I do like Butler. Mount Tabor comes from the same conference as West Forsyth. And when Mount Tabor and West Forsyth played, it was a really close game. So I think they're on about the same level. But Butler, as you heard producers say, they're playing really well right now. Especially playing complementary football when your defense is feeding the offense and vice versa. You're really in a good place. So I think they're rolling out, and I like them, in that matchup next week. So then to the bottom half of that, we heard from Big Eye Shelby. If you didn't hear from him, he was on here earlier. He talked about the big win for his Patriots over East Forsyth, 34-28. up at East Forsyth tonight. And then Watauga, and I watched a little bit of this game on the NFHS network. Watauga defeating Mallard Creek 20-14. Setting up Independence will go up to Boone and Watauga next Friday night. And the thing about Watauga that's interesting is offensively, they have about the most formations and motions and trades and things that I've ever seen a high school football team have. When I was an OC one year, we went to kind of like a series we called our double motion series. And it was similar to some of the stuff that we would do, where you show one formation and you shift, and then you bring a guy over in motion, you trade a guy, you motion to a hole, or, different things like that. They do a lot of stuff like that offensively. So they're very multiple. The thing about it, though, when you're doing stuff like that, you're always looking at the percentage that where are they going the most when you track those plays and you play the tendency of where their plays go. So, Independence's staff will break all that down and then have a game plan together for all that stuff. But when I looked at Mallard Creek attacking them tonight, Mallard Creek, we know they're a run first team, and they were able to run the ball at times against Watauga, especially off tackle and kind of outside when they're able to get to the edge. Their star receiver, Benjamin Black, did catch a touchdown pass. So I think Watauga can be, had through the air. I think their biggest challenge will be trying to defend the balance that Independence shows offensively. And then, of course, on the flip side, like I said, Independence's defense getting ready for all of the different things Watauga's offense can show you will be the challenge there. So a very good coaching battle in this one, but sheer athletes, it favors Independence, and it favored Mallard Creek tonight, but it was great coaching by Watauga. They were really able to be in the right place the most of the time against the Mallard Creek offense. And then all of that shifting trade motion type stuff, they were able to catch Mallard Creek a couple times in those matchup situations versus formation and things like that. So it was fun to watch from a coaching perspective. Okay. Let's go to the 3A West bracket. So I'm going to switch my screen here, and we'll take a look at 3A. And I've heard some things that people are really upset about. We'll see if that comes up here. Okay. All right. So on the top half, we got Crest defeating Statesville in a hard-fought game, 28-16. And then West Charlotte defeating High Brighton in a relatively easy game, 29-8, setting up a matchup that a lot of people had talked about before even the brackets came out, and that's Crest hosting West Charlotte. Now, West Charlotte has bounced back from the tough loss they suffered at the end of the regular season to North Mech, and they've only given up 8 points in their first 2 playoff games. But I watched both of these teams that they played on NFHS Network the last 2 weeks. Neither of them have anything close to the offense Chris has. So the last time we saw someone with a functional offense when they played North Mech. The biggest thing that West Charlotte's going to have to do is actually 2 things. One, you're going to have to contain Tater Husky, the quarterback for Crest, in the pocket. Don't let him get outside and make a ton of off-schedule plays. They have the athletes to do that. They have the speed to do that. So I think that could happen. And then secondly is they're going to have to be able to play really good pass defense. Now, in Charlotte, the teams that they played, I don't know if you could say if any of them had a high level passing game. Maybe Monroe is probably the best passing game West Charlotte has seen all season. I'll pull up their schedule just out of curiosity and see if we can see that. But I'm just thinking they haven't seen a passing game like Crest in a long time. So that's going to be a big key is how do they handle, everything that Crest can throw at them from that perspective. Now, on the other side of it, West Charlotte offensively, they have been able to run the football. They have been able to make some key throws down the field to move the chains and for scoring plays. So, I think West Charlotte will be able to score and make some plays against the Crest defense. It's just a matter of can they make enough? And then can they slow Crest down enough to make it a really, really good battle? Statesville, I thought, did a good job of that tonight. And Statesville did a good job running the football and controlling the tempo of that game. And I think West Charlotte may look to emulate that when they play next week. But no doubt, a huge game. A lot of talent's going to be on the field. A lot of athleticism, a lot of speed. I think the West Charlotte fans will travel for this one. This is a traditional matchup throughout the history of West Charlotte and Crest. They have played back in the 80s and the 90s, and I think the early 2000s, maybe once or twice there. So their older fans know who Crest is. It's not one of those things where it's like a high writing where they don't, really have a connection to the team. So that's going to be a fun matchup. Then on down the Robinson Northwestern rematch. Robinson was able to defeat Northwest Cabarrus again. It's 27-17. The old adage said it's hard to beat a good team twice. But J.M. Robinson was able to get that done. It was another hard-fought game. I saw the scores going back and forth throughout the game. It was a close game all the way through. And then Dudley with a big win, 48-6. Setting up an interesting matchup with J.M. Robinson going up against Dudley. Now, think back to week 1, and it was a long time ago, where J.M. Robinson played Hickory Ridge, where Hickory Ridge is a really strong passing team with multiple threats and a good quarterback. And they were able to put up, I think, 42 points against Robinson in week 1. Now, Dudley has a similar type of attack with Andrew Atmore at the quarterback spot. And then they have some athletic guys on the outside, and they also have speed in the running game. This is going to be a big challenge for J.M. Robinson. This is the step up. When you get into the playoffs, eventually you're going to have to play, somebody big time, and Dudley is a contender for the state title. Now, this is a game where J.M. Robinson can step up and say, hey, we're on that level too. And I think a lot of people are going to be watching this game to see, okay, where is this program at? Are they on a state contender level, or are they just on that, second round type level to where can they step up and make a statement in a game like this? Up at Dudley, it should be a really good environment. I know Coach Jason Seidel will have those guys fired up and ready to go. If you're at J.M. Robinson, you're probably feeling like, okay, this is what we play for. This is the time for us to come and step up and show the type of team that we are, galvanized together, going on the road up in Greensboro. That's what state playoff football is all about. So I'll be excited to, see how that game turns out. And then excited to see how well Dudley's able to slow down a potent Robinson offense that can run the football with the null edge right, as well as throw it with Isaac Lee at the quarterback spot. All right. On the bottom half of the bracket here, West Henderson easily over East Lincoln 37-7. And then Oak Grove over Pisgah, 23-16, setting up a West Henderson Oak Grove matchup. I won't really talk much about that. That's not really our area. And then AC Reynolds defeating Kings Mountain 15-0. And then Hickory defeating North Lincoln in a rematch, 48-28, setting up a Hickory hosting AC Reynolds matchup, which will be big for that area in the foothills of the mountains. Now, the AC Reynolds Kings Mountain game, here's the interesting thing about that is Kings Mountain, and I got this from Joe Hughes, and I want to get the number right, so I'm going to bring it up here. He said Kings Mountain's defense only allowed 23 yards, and they lost 15-0. And you're probably wondering how. How does that happen? Well, to my understanding, AC Reynolds was able to get a safety for 2 points, and then they got really good field position, and they ran in a short touchdown run by Max Guest, who is back, by the way, the star running back for AC Reynolds. And then I think they scored right at the end of the game when Kings Mountain was trying to make a last-ditch effort, and it might have been a defensive touchdown or something like that. So, we talked about Kings Mountain's defense all year long, how impressive they were, especially their front four, really front seven. And, they came to play. And AC Reynolds is not an easy place to play, and you think you give up 23 yards and you're going to be good. But, once again, it's high school football, man. It's crazy things that happen. I really hate it for those kids. We had a lot of those kids come to our spring showcase and really show out and get awards and superlatives. There's a lot of talent on that team. Some of those guys will be back next year. Of course, some of those will graduate and go on to play in college and do great things. But, I think in Coach Heron's first year, he's probably learned a lot. And, they're going to try to take a look at some things and, see what they can do better for next year. And, I think the first obvious thing, people will say is, well, what are you going to do about the offense? But sometimes it's just internal development that, will make things better. They are, high school kids at the end of the day. So, it's a good season for Kings Mountain, and congratulations to AC Reynolds. I think that AC Reynolds Hickory game is going to be a heck of a football game. Guest will get another week to get up to speed and see if he's at 100%, where he can, kind of carry that Reynolds offense like they're used to having that support for their run game, because they're going to need to control the clock with their run game and control the tempo of the game, because the Hickory offense is very explosive. And that's going to be the big challenge in that matchup. Okay, so that's 4A and 3A West. I don't really see any other comments on any other games. I'll go to the ticker and I'll go through some other interesting scores here in the Charlotte area, and then we'll call it a night. So Community School Davidson in the 2A West ranks, beating East Surrey 25-18. It sets up a rematch of them in Forest Hills in the third round. That'll be at Community School of Davidson. That'll be a great game. We may talk about it next week on the show. Hickory Grove ends their season tonight, losing to Asheville School 55-0. Providence Day defeated Charlotte Christian in a wild game, 45-37. That was a semifinal game in the NCISAA private school playoffs. I believe they'll play Raven Gap, but that game will be at Raven Gap for a state championship next Friday. We're going through the score. We talked about most of these already. Albemarle season ends. They lose to Thomasville 41-13. Lancaster South Carolina, they had one win going into the state playoffs last week. They won last week, and then they went all the way down to Charleston and beat Lucy Beckham, a 9-2 football team, 38-20. They are in the third round, and they won one game in the regular season. What a story that is for Lancaster. Wow. And they're going to play South Florence. So, I mean, you talk about the mindset of having a brand new season of being 0-0. That is it personified. Shout out to Lancaster, man. That is incredible. Burns season ended tonight. They lost to Bunker Hill on the road 21-14. Bessemer City season ended tonight. They lost up in Swain County 42-7. South Point in Rock Hill, their season's over. They lost to Midland Valley 24-17. So Northwestern won, their season's still going. James Island won. A lot of us know Coach McCoy, who used to coach at Hunter Huss. They have a great game next week. James Island will be going to Irmo in the third round. And you know who's our Irmo? Aaron Brand. What I tell you, man. If I didn't cover football here, I would be at that James Island Irmo game. Two great coaches from our area going down to South Carolina, starting their programs and doing an awesome job. And that game is going to be a heck of a football game, man. North Rowan defeated Corvian tonight, 49-34. So Corvian season ends. York season ends. They lose to West Side in South Carolina, 49-13. And then North Stanley season is over. They lost to Brevard 36-7. All right. We have a comment before we end here. Brewster Jamel says, how to Weddington get first seed? No way. Versus Crimsley third round. Well, that goes back to the RPI. That's how seeding is determined for the playoffs. It's a formula that it kind of takes your winning percentage, your opponent's winning percentage, and your opponent's winning percentage, and they put it together and they come up with a number, and then that number is used to seed all the teams in the state playoffs. So that's how Weddington got the number one seed. Well, yeah, great football games tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching. We will have Football Focus Weekly next Wednesday night at 7:30, breaking down some really great football games in the third round. I want to thank, once again, Big Eye Shelby and producer for joining me earlier. If you didn't see it, once this ends, you can watch the replay. They were on earlier in the show talking about their games they were at tonight. And I want to thank especially everyone who sent me a message. I got a few messages. People were concerned. I'm okay. I'm just trying to work to get back and get back to normal. It was a nasty virus. That took me out for a while, but I'm getting there, man. So I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next Wednesday night on Football Focus Weekly. Have a great weekend, everybody, and happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Thank you for your service.